Hi there, I'm Chaba and welcome to day 5 of the Proven Ads Breakdown Challenge that I'm doing for 90 days. And today I have something very meta for you because we're going to look at an ad written by a famous copywriter, and the contents of the ad itself is breaking down 100 good advertising headlines and why they were so profitable. So it's really kind of an advanced thing, but it's really useful because headlines are one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful things in any ad, in any sales letter. And by analyzing a bunch of good headlines that have worked decades ago, basically, we can learn a lot from them. What made them work, how they were so successful, and what can you extract from them or even use them as swipes in your own copy, in your own marketing campaigns or funnels or landing pages or sales pages or video sales letters. So just a little recap of what this whole thing is about, this specific ad. It was written by Victor Schwab. Victor Schwab is one of those legendary copywriters that every good copywriter reads about, and he was especially strong on headlines. So he created a lot of good content on writing good headlines, and he has some really good books as well. And since this was one of his actually unique selling propositions, let's say, he once made an ad advertising his services to people by basically giving away tons of value about what's behind 100 good advertising headlines. And this is a really strong lesson that we can immediately get a lot from, namely that you want to make your advertisement itself valuable. And Gary Bencivenga, who I covered before in one of the videos, was very big on this, to always give a ton of value away, even in your sales materials, because nobody really wants to read an ad. They want to read something that interests them. And sometimes that's an ad. Sometimes it's not an ad, but nobody explicitly wants to read an ad itself. So I'm gonna include this PDF, by the way, under the video. You can check it out yourself. It's really, it's like it's like 7,000 words actually. So it's basically just 2 pages. But as you can see, and my computer is actually acting up with this. So it's only 2 pages. It was running in a newspaper, I guess. But it has really small fonts, and it's like 6 columns, so, and even more in some places. So it's really overkill in a way. But I encourage you to read it in your spare time and only hand copy the headlines themselves if you wanna hand copy this, because it's just too much otherwise. And there's a bunch of explanation under each headline, so I won't really go into much detail here. But I just want to give you a quick overview of it, maybe highlight a few of the headlines that I really like, why I think they work. But if you read this, then you'll get a lot of value from it. So this video is going to be probably a bit shorter, but I don't really want to like stress you before the weekend. This is something still super important and super powerful that you can reference later on anytime you want to make a marketing campaign. But it's something more fun, I think, as well. So we have headlines here. For example, the secret of making people like you. Again, secrets. People just love secrets. Russell Brunson is big on secrets uh, with his ClickFunnels stuff. It still works. It's a bit overused now, but it still works. Um, a little mistake that can cost a farmer 3,000 a year. Again, what's the little, and with what is the mistake? And am I the type of farmer? Maybe is it causing me to lose more than $3,000? What's up with that? So even though a bunch of these headlines are quite old, and you'll notice how they were written for different audiences that we have nowadays, but the structure itself and the persuasiveness itself still applies. You can still take one of these headlines and easily modify it to suit your specific situation. Advice to wives whose husbands don't save money: buy a wife. So this is strong because we have the advice. People wanna learn insider stuff. They wanna learn advice as well. They don't necessarily want to learn it, but they want to discover it. And this is pain point for that market. And at the end, by saying buy a wife, that just gives credibility. That just gives proof to the whole headline. And all throughout these headlines, you always want to make sure that you have a promise as well. And most of these headlines are about you. So one of the most powerful words in advertising is the word you, because we want to make it not about us, but about the ideal customer, the ideal prospect itself. And by explicitly saying you, or by assuming that it's something that you can get a lot of value out of, that's super powerful. But we also want to back up this promise with a proof. And in this case, or like a unique mechanism or something new. And in this case, buy a wife immediately lends it credibility because it seems more credible because she knows what she's talking about. The child who won the hearts of all. So again, this was a big pain point for that specific audience, and it still is, I guess. I'm not a parent yet, but when your child starts acting up in front of other people, it's embarrassing. And parents will definitely be interested in discovering how they can have a child that everybody will love and that also respects positively on them. Are you ever tongue-tied at a party? Again, this is a common pain point that most people struggle with, and uh, and by asking it in this way, this type of question, people want to find out, like, am I the type of person? Am I not? Am I better than others? Am I worse than others? I want to find out. How a new discovery made a plain girl beautiful. Again, this headline might seem sexist now, but these headlines, at least this compilation of headlines, was written, I think, in 1953. So it's like almost 70 years old. But most of these would still work. And you know what? Actually, this specific ad, to my knowledge, isn't really that well known. Like a bunch of famous headlines are well known. A bunch of proven ads are well known that we're going to hand copy or we're going to analyze. But this isn't really that well known. So if you use something from this and you modify it to today's audience, actually you can gain a competitive advantage from this because nobody else uses it. Everybody else is using trendy headlines that are happening nowadays, all over the internet. Um, how to win friends and influence people. This is a very famous headline, probably one of the most famous headlines. It just works because of the how-to element and the two quick benefits that people want. The last 2 hours are the longest, and those are the 2 hours you save. This was selling aviation services to people. So this was run by an ad by an airline whose planes were faster, and they noticed that up until some time people can easily tolerate a flight, but after some time, after a few hours, every new hour, every additional hour becomes a pain in the ass, and it becomes harder and harder to bear. And it was a really really good ad that pulled in a lot of cash. Who else wants a screen star figure? Again, this who else wants, this is a famous headline structure, and it still works. You can still use it with something like that. Obviously, this was aimed at women because this was really important to them. It still is. It might not be always PC to say this, but it still is. And by saying who else, it assumes that there's a trend happening there. It assumes that a lot of women have managed to crack the code on this, and 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 let's say I'm the target audience here. I want to know this because there might be something that I'm missing, a little secret, and I want to learn the secret of other successful people. Do you make these mistakes in English? This is also a famous one. And you can see again how the do you make these is very powerful, and especially the word these. Because if you were to say, do you make mistakes in English? Then it would be a yes or a no question. It would be like, yeah, sure. I mean, everybody makes mistakes in English. I make tons of mistakes in English, but even native English speakers would say this. But by including these, it assumes that there are certain mistakes that I now want to find out. It's the hook, that makes it really powerful. Why some foods explode in your stomach. This is really interesting. First of all, it has a why element, so it's like a powerful bullet. And you can notice how, you know, most of these headlines could act as really, really powerful bullets, as really powerful fascinations, because they create a bunch of um, intrigue in people. They want to find out what these foods are. Like, how could you not want to find out what foods explode in your stomach? And it's very graphic. I like it how it shows it. It doesn't tell. It show, don't tell. In practice here, and also the some foods. So are there like many foods that explode? What are the foods that explode? Am I eating those? Am I the lucky ones who aren't eating those? What do you mean by explode? So there's a bunch of stuff happening here, but it's a single big idea, and I really like this one. Hands that look lovelier in 24 hours or your money back. This is another format that's quite popular, but it still works because it has basically a strong promise, a strong specific promise in a short time frame, because everybody wants instant gratification, and it has a big proof element or your money back. So people will feel like they just can't lose, and this would be really powerful for a direct offer. You can laugh at money worries if you follow this simple plan. Again, this is a format that Gary Bencivenga talked about. It's basically an if-then, just reversed, and it can really be powerful because um, it's the possibility for attaining a high-level benefit that people want if they do something. It's like, give me 5 minutes and I'll give you a push button memory. Or give me 20 minutes and I give you a push button memory. Uh, this was actually a famous headline, and it works on the same principle. It has like if you give me this time, if you invest this time, I will give you a benefit that you're interested in. And it works the same way, and it's really powerful. Why some people almost always make money in the stock market. This again is a headline that I really like. It's just so powerful because it has the why element. So we want to find out why. It has the some element, which is really powerful because some people. So does that mean that there's like an elite group of people who know something that I don't know about? And who's the other people? Am I part of the other people, or am I part of the some people? I want to know because I want to immediately qualify myself against everybody else. Almost always, this is also really important because if if we were to say always make money, it makes it seem incredible, too incredible. But almost always, uh, it just makes everything more credible because it assumes that not everybody can do that. But then again, people start asking, okay, so if I'm part of this group, would I be able to make money from the stock market? So it's really, really powerful. When doctors feel rotten, this is what they do. This is just a strong pattern interrupt. And also, like, doctors, they're the poster child of credibility and proof. You know, whenever we think doctor, we think about someone who knows a lot of stuff, who's like very knowledgeable and who can solve big problems for us. It lends an aura of credibility. And then by saying even doctors can get sick, and when they get sick, this is what they do. So it's really powerful to basically find out what those things might be. um, let's see another one. 5 familiar skin troubles, which do you want to overcome? Very powerful. It has specifics. It has 5. Familiar, it means that most people uh, have most people know about these, or they have experience with it. And then by saying which do you want to overcome, it assumes that you might have something, and it's really powerful. I'm sure that by this time you might have noticed that um, something that might happen, something that maybe is true, maybe it's not true, is oftentimes more powerful than saying something that this is totally true or this is totally not true. This type of mysteriousness and this type of maybe yes, maybe not creates an internal internal, how should I say, like little thing inside you that wants to burst out, and you want to discover whether this is true or not. And it's really powerful. Just read this thing here and you'll understand why. Which of these $2.5 to $5 bestsellers do you want for only $1 each? Again, very powerful because it's a direct offer, but it seems like an irresistible offer because it assumes that you're going to get a bargain no matter which one you choose. It presupposes that you want to choose something. That's why it says which of these instead of saying do you want, because if by saying do you want, it's a yes or no question, but this way it's like, oh, I didn't know that there was such a good offer. So let's see, what can I choose for only $1 each. And also the each at the end, I like it because it assumes that you want to buy more. So it probably increases average order value, which even in those days was really powerful. How I improve my memory in one evening. It's just like how to have friends and influence people, but a time element with it. So it's basically a how-to, and even though it talks about me, so it's from my perspective, it still assumes a you-focused benefit. So after someone reads this, he's gonna internalize this, and he's gonna think like, okay, so I want to improve my memory in one evening. Let's see how I can do that. Discover the fortune that lies hidden in your salary. This does just basically, it's a promise. It's a type of secret, like what fortune do I have hidden in my salary. It basically assumes that I can make even more out of my hard-earned money. It's kind of like an investment type of thing. Doctors prove 2 out of 3 women can have more beautiful skin in 14 days. Again, something really powerful, and I really like the description here. Women want it. Why 2 out of 3? Am I one of the two? Uh, how have doctors proved it? Quick results are what I want. Only 14 days. How can I not want it? So again, this is a good example of how, a good headline, in a good headline, every single word counts. And you want to ruthlessly cut out every single additional word that doesn't give value to the headline itself. But there's there's no words that we can cut from this headline. Everything is needed. Everything is needed to achieve the effectiveness of the headline that it has. It has the time element. It has the specific. It has the can have. So it's like, again, it doesn't guarantee, but it assumes that there's a big payoff here. And again, doctors. So doctors lends an aura of credibility here. How I made a fortune with a fool idea. This is a pattern interrupt. It's a paradox. Like, how can you be successful by being a fool? What's a fool idea? It's just it shocks people. It grabs attention, and that's what a good headline should do. Whose fault when children disobey? Again, this goes back to the other headline that we mentioned a few minutes ago by talking about good children. This is the complete opposite. Like, parents feel ashamed when their children act up, they have tantrums, for example, in front of others, and then whose fault is it? Like, and is it my fault? Should it be my fault? How can I make it not my fault? How can I just erase the whole negative situation from my life? Something like that. So it's powerful. How a fool stunt made me a star salesman. Again, what is the fool stunt? Like, how can it make me a good salesman? It's an interesting promise with a twist to it. Have you these symptoms of nerve exhaustion? Um, People just want to find out, am I someone who's struggling with this? I didn't know that there's something called nerve exhaustion. I didn't know it was common. So do I have it or do I not? Do you see the pattern here? Like, most headlines, they have strong curiosity, but they also have a benefit. And sometimes they tease something new, or a new mechanism, or a unique mechanism, or a unique selling proposition or something. either way, it's really powerful to just suck people in. And the only thing you want your headline to do, you don't want it to like do everything, but you only want it to suck people in for a few seconds so that they start reading your copy. And then if your hook is good, if your lead is good, then they'll slide deeper and deeper down on the slippery slope. And that's what you want until they land on the call to action. How a new kind of clay improved my complexion in 30 minutes. Again, it has it all. It has a how, it's a new kind, so it presupposes there's a new mechanism here. Improve my complexion, that's the benefit. In 30 minutes, that's the time element. So it assumes that it can be done quickly, and people are after quick results, always, almost always. But this headline, the 30-second one, contrasts this a little bit because it says 161 new ways to a man's heart in this fascinating book for cooks. It's very specific. It has a benefit that people want, and it has like the unique mechanism element as well, because it says in this fascinating book for cooks, and it also qualifies people because this is for cooks. And if you haven't noticed by now, this whole ad that we're analyzing here is the same structure that this one. It's 100 good advertising headlines and why they were so profitable. It's the same thing. So I'm probably not gonna like analyze everything here for now. You can read it yourself if you want. It's a good reading for the weekend, for example. But it's really powerful, and I really invite you to reference this later on as well. Save this and reference it later, because whenever you want to write a headline, it can really be like hard to come up, and it's like imposter syndrome and perfectionism and blank page syndrome all surface whenever you want to write a headline, because that's the most important part of any ad or any sales letter or any video. And by referencing this, just skimming through it, you'll definitely get a bunch of good ideas that you can. It will just get your juices flowing, and that's what you want, because then the writing itself becomes much easier. So I hope that you enjoyed this video as well. If you did, leave a like below and also a comment, because I want to know which one of these headlines is your favorite. Let me know, because everybody has their own preferences, and I respond to every comment that I see. I'm really glad if someone's following along, and some people are actually saying that this whole challenge is so inspiring to them that they're also starting their own challenges, their own, like, they want to tweet a day challenge, or like they also want to handwrite these things together with me. So it's really humbling for me, and I would love for this to reach more people. But in order to do that, we also need to give some love to the YouTube algorithm, and the YouTube algorithm wants more likes, more shares, more comments, more average watch time. But that's the way YouTube works.